Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. My name is Scott Morganroth. Pleased to be joined by Jeff Hochman, and today's sponsor is Signarama of Sunrise. But before I go out there and introduce Jeff, today's South Florida Tribune podcast is presented by Signarama of Sunrise. And if you want to know where Sunrise, Florida is, folks, the Florida Panthers play there in Sunrise, Florida, which happens to be west of Fort Lauderdale. And the Florida Panthers are on our media distribution list. So for anybody that wants to go out there and know where Sunrise, Florida is, Jeff Hochman and Signarama of Sunrise. And yes, the Florida Panthers play there as well. Later on this afternoon, Sports Talk Saturday, I'll be on with at noon Eastern time with myself, Mark Mancini, Bruce Kessinger, as we welcome former Philadelphia Phillies Warren Brewster to the show. And it's going to be a great time talking baseball with Warren Brewster. So that broadcast will be available on www.southfloridatribune.com. So once again, today at noon, yours truly will be on with Mark Mancini, Bruce Kessinger, and we welcome former Philadelphia Philly Warren Brewster to the show. What a great lineup today. And, you know, I've been looking forward to this show for a long time, and I had an opportunity to meet Jeff Hochman at a networking group, and now we have an opportunity to spend a little time together on a Saturday. And I got to tell you, folks, my schedule over the last few weeks is going to be outright crazy. You know, as I have broadcast, I have Intermiami, I have the Miami Marlins. And of course, a little information about our network before we go into it, Jeff, is on Monday night, Fire Up Michigan returns with myself, George Eichhorn, Mark Mancini. We'll be talking about the Detroit Lions there. And then we're also going to have a 108 Stitches baseball talk on Tuesday, and the sports with Rick Curdy and Lou Landers is scheduled to be on. And then on Wednesday night, the Sports Exchange comes on with myself, George Eichhorn, Rick Curdy, and JB Ellis. So we have a busy week in store in addition to more Inter-Miami and Miami Marlins activity. With that said, no further delay. I know Jeff Hochman is ready to get rolling, but that's where you got to do. Before I go to Jeff, subscribe to South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. Advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. So whether you're on the Metro Rail, whether you're on the Subway, National, or wherever, tune us on, and then you can go ahead and look at all of our entertaining, a lot of great shows on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. Well, Mr. Signarama of Sunrise, it's time to let the Jeff out of the get him ready to roll. And all right, Jeff Hochman, welcome to the South Florida Tribune podcast. We are so thrilled to have you this morning.
Thank you very much, Scott. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. A lot of activity today. If folks know, like I said, I'm going to Oakland, California. Thankfully, there is that thing called technology that doesn't mean I have to go up and away in an airplane because I don't like them and it's too far to drive for a show that I go on every Saturday. But we don't have as big a distance with you since you are in Sunrise. And yes, they do have a lot of sunrises here in Southern Florida. All right, Jeff, let's get to it, shall we? So first question here, what made you get into the sign business and how long you been in it?
In the business now for 15 years, Scott. I really enjoy the business and I love what I do. You know, I came down to Florida 31 years ago, and I moved down here to investigate another type of a business. I ended up staying. I was in a vending machine business for 16 years before this. And then turning 50 years old, I said, you know, there's something else that I just want to do. It's just, I need to make a change in my life. And I have a very high aptitude for math. And the sign business is really a math business. I love it. And I'm just intrigued by it every day. And it was a natural progression for me. Once I saw the sign business, actually, I was thinking about taking the sign business to North Carolina, become a halfback. I'm originally from New York and was going to move back to North Carolina and start up a business. I actually was talking to Signarama, buying the one in Raleigh, and one thing led to another. They told me there was one available here in Sunrise, and now 15 years later, here I am, still the owner.
Amazingly enough, I got a Colonel Sanders here who invented Kentucky Fried Chicken in a later age, and KFC to me, in my opinion, is going strong. So, but that's the only KFC resident. But I know Colonel Harlan Sanders decided to get in the chicken business lately, and we all know how that turned out as well. So Jeff Hochman decides to reinvent himself with signs. Very good. And actually, folks, I should tell you, Jeff has made a couple of signs for us as well, and he does really, really good work right now. So with that said, okay, Jeff, what type of products does Signarama of Sunrise offer?
I'm glad you asked that question because to me, with the two wide format printers that I have and the laminators, there's really no limit to what it is that we do. But we make all different types of signs. But sometimes you would think the name of my store is Printerama. I do more business cards, postcards, flyers, brochures, NCR forms, pocket pamphlets, so much different stuff. We do engraving work, we do T-shirts, we do awards. But the main business that I have and my main passion is always the sign business. And what is it that we do with signs? Actually, one of the best jobs that I ever did was the Hyatt, the Pier 66. It was a Hyatt Regency, and 185 feet up in the air, we replaced the Hyatt Regency sign with Pier 66 Hotel and Marina with 4-foot reverse channel letters. And these are the big illuminated letters that are on the top of most buildings or promoting the store or the company name. So we do channel letter signs. We do entrance monument signs for shopping centers or for private residences. We do floor graphics, wall graphics. I've done so many car wraps. We do vehicle decaling, window lettering. The list is endless, and it's really pretty great because when you do have the wide format printers, and there are so many different types of products that are available. Any work that comes in here, I rarely say no to a job because we just have the capability to do everything. And what's nice about Signarama is because it's a franchise and it is the world's largest franchise in the sign business, is that we have corporate vendors that provide us with so many different things. Like, for example, I'm doing a restaurant right now, and I've never done an exterior menu board before. But here we are. I'm pricing out the menu boards for the drive-through. And it's really a simple job. It's really just an installation and the purchase and resale of a board customized to the customer's needs. So what is it that we do? The sky's the limit, Scott. Sky's the limit.
All right. Well, let me tell you, back in the 1980s and 90s, I used to work in the home improvement business, and I used to sell windows, patio doors. I used to sell roofing, siding, you name it. And the more versatility you get, the more business you do not leave on the table. And I think the concept of what you're doing is don't put all your eggs, as they say, the cliche, in one basket. And evidently, judging by what you're telling me, Jeff, you have a lot of baskets out there so you can attract a lot of different customer bases. So I can relate. I've been in lots of different businesses. My core business throughout my 42 years in media has naturally been in the writing side, a lot of radio, a lot of podcasting, and have done some TV visual work. But you've got to make sure, folks out there, that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Jeff evidently does not put his eggs in one basket by offering the wide range of products which he's done, and I can speak from experience. So with that said, Steve, Jeff, let's go ahead and talk about do you do business outside of Sunrise? Steve is a guy, by the way, that I was thinking about. My friend Steve Ballesteri, who's another big contributor here on our network. And I do want to, before I go any further, hope that Steve is doing well. He's part of our broadcast production for the Sports Exchange and 108 Stitches. And I like to bring in some of my other people as well. And, if my mind is going a mile a minute, you better believe that I'm involved in a lot of things. So, Steve, if you're out there listening to the show, we hope you're feeling better. We expect big things out of you for the Sports Exchange as well as 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So, back to the business at hand. What, Jeff, do you do business outside of Sunrise, Florida?
It's funny you should ask that because, yes, we do. Signarama is a franchise. It's sort of like the Subway of the sign business, but you don't get the same $4.99 meatball marinara that you get in any other store. Here at Sunrise, we give you customized service. Actually, I just want to mention my store has more 5-star reviews on Google than any Signarama in the world, and not by a little. We crush it. And we do that by offering great service. We do fair to low prices, and we never skimp on the quality of what we do. But to answer your question directly, Scott, is yes, we do business. Matter of fact, one of my biggest clients right now is a national real estate company, or I should say a signpost installation company that works with signpost installers, and I make signs, the real estate signs, and deliver it to them. And we deliver to Georgia and Ohio and to North Carolina and South Carolina and all over the place. And similarly, because we're a franchise and we're nationally or internationally known, we often get referrals from other places as well, or other customers, and we ship products all over the place. And what's interesting about my store is we don't mark up the shipping and we don't charge for handling. We just mail the stuff for whatever our costs are. And we're just happy to get the business from wherever it comes from. But more specifically, do we do business outside of Sunrise? That was in the mailing portion, but I take business no matter where I get it. I've done jobs in Orlando. I've done channel letter jobs. I've done a channel letter job in Tampa. I take business in Pompano and Deerfield and Boca and Boynton. I just did a job in Wellington. I just did a Sicilian oven channel letter job in West Palm Beach. I just did a Zona Blue, a restaurant. They have one in Weston. So to answer your question, yes, Scott, we do business all over. We're not limited just to Sunrise, Florida.
Well, as I understand, I'm not mentioning any franchises in particular. Just because you're a franchise to me doesn't mean that you can knock doors in somebody else's territory. But when you're dealing with something where you've got a lot of online business, you have a reputation, word of mouth. You know what, Jeff? To me, that's always been fair game. I mean, I know that lots of franchise protect territorial rights to make sure the franchise are okay. But when you're talking about referrals, hey, you know what? As they always say, anything goes.
Well, that's exactly right, but not always true. And let me just explain. Because I've been doing this for 15 years, I have an older franchise agreement, which doesn't give me any restrictions as to where I can sell. But more as a gentleman, you don't sell in the town where there is another Signarama, for example.
Right.
I'll take a job in Deerfield Beach, but I will not solicit the next door neighbor to the job that I have in Deerfield. I won't go cold calling. You take the jobs wherever you get them. But if there's a Signarama in that town, as a gentleman, I just won't go stealing somebody else's potential business. But the newer franchises are limited to zip codes as to where they can or cannot market. Like, for example, if I'm in Deerfield, and then around the block is Boca. Well, there is a store in Boca, but I can sell anywhere that I want to, but I won't solicit business in a town where there isn't a Signarama existing.
Right. So thank you very much, Jeff, for making my point. Okay, you're not going to solicit, but they're fair game. Okay, so there you go. That's what I'm saying. It's called integrity, folks. Okay, I'm not going to go ahead and knock doors against somebody because I think there's a thing called integrity out there. But yeah, if it's out there, I mean, everything's out there as long as it's done whether it's word of mouth or however. Which leads me to my next question: do you do orders online? I know you do a lot of referrals, as I found out.
We don't have an online ordering system, but our website does allow people to upload artwork, and we do get requests for quotes online all the time. My Google reviews really help me get a lot more of those requests because people find me easier because of those 5-star Google reviews. So whereas I don't have an online ordering system, there are ways of contacting us online, uploading artwork, and us getting back to the client very quickly with the responses that they need.
And referrals, I know, like any business, you get referrals, that's gold.
I do very little marketing in my business, which really is a shame because it can really, truly continue to grow and burst at the seams if I spent more time working on my business and in my business. But this is a passion that I love. I mean, I just love the sign business. So I love helping the customers as evidenced by those Google reviews, but I love taking the time to understand the customer's needs and getting them the lowest cost option to satisfy their sign problem, because I consider myself a sign solutions provider.
Well, you're doing your passion in the sign business, and I'm doing my passion in broadcasting and media. I mean,
my goodness. We love what we do, right? We love what we do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I always joke around with people out there that to me, a microphone is like giving a kid a lollipop. You can never have enough of it. So it doesn't make any difference to me. So, I mean, I can only imagine what your type of thing is. So I want to go on to another interesting point about your company. I have a few other questions I want to hit to you. How many employees do you actually have working for Signarama of Sunrise?
Well, I've got 4 additional employees besides myself right now. And, funny, I bought my store 15 years ago when I got my store. My graphic designer was here for 5 years already, and he's still with me. My production guy was there 2.5 years before me, and he's still with me. I got an operations manager that left another Signarama to come to my store, and he's got 18 years experience before he came to my store, which was 4 years ago. And then I got a 70-plus-year-old installer who has 35 years of sign experience. So if you add it all up, we've got more than 100 years of sign experience, hence the gray hair. But we got so much sign experience in the store, which really helps us tackle so many different problems. When something comes up, everyone's got an idea. And I also actually happen to have a part-time installer who actually, if you can see right over there behind me, there's a map on the wall. I'm doing a project in Lauderdale West with somewhere around 180 street sign replacements. And he's working that job like full-time for 2 months now.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have when you have that much wealth of experience for sure. And I had that throughout my network. I have some guys that are young, trying to develop their own reputation, giving them a start. Then I have other guys on my shows that have 20, 30, 40 years. And you know what? The more experience you have, the easier it is for us to focus on the little things while other people can do what they've got to do. So I can appreciate you going for you. And that's why I asked that question, to let people know that Jeff Hochman is not a one-man act, that he has a good supporting cast. And that's exactly why I presented you with that question. So with that said, okay, Jeff, how important are networking groups to your marketing strategy? Word of mouth. Boy, I swear to God, I swear, folks, word of mouth your best advertising. But, I've been a part of networking groups. Some products market better than other services, and I've had some success with them in other ways. But I know there are others that have. I think networking groups for me are more exposure for the little business. But again, everybody has a different thing. But to keep the focus on Signarama of Sunrise, I'll repeat my question. Okay, how important are networking groups to your marketing strategy, aka word of mouth?
Well, networking and word of mouth is really a very important part of the strategy. I belong to 2 different networking groups, and they really have given me, actually, the One Wednesday group gave me my biggest job that I ever got. It was a $65,000 job, replacing over 1,000 signs in Beach Club 3 in Hallandale. And, we did from the suite signs to the wayfinding signs, and all of them were ADA compliant. We did all the door signs. We did so many different things. And that was a $65,000 job. I've got another $15,000 job that I got for doing street signs for a Rock Island neighborhood association in Fort Lauderdale. And currently right now I'm doing another $8,000 job for another property management job that was referred to because of someone that somebody knew. So, the word of mouth and networking is very important to my business, and it has given me a tremendous opportunity. But, you got to think of networking this way. It's not just the people that are in the group that you get the referrals from, but it's also their Rolodex as they go about their business and spend their days, and they hear, hey, this person's moving their business. Well, they say, oh, wow, I got to let Jeff know about this because Jeff can help them with their window letter, their overhead signs, or their business cards, etc., or interior signs, And by the way, something else that I do a lot of is dimensional lettering or lobby signs. Let me just throw that in there from the back question.
Sure,
but,
okay.
that's those word of mouth things that and people hearing you. So, you're not just the 20, 30 people in your networking meeting. It's also their Rolodex and their lives as they go around that they hear the verbal cues and can go ahead and refer you. So it's been a tremendous source of business for me, as much as my Google reviews and the credibility that I get from those as well.
Leading to my next question, overall, how do you market your business?
I really don't, which is such a shame. I just started recently using somebody to do some social media work for me. I've tried some things in the past, but it never really worked out. Luckily for me, I've been blessed by just doing a really good job for people. I rarely lose a customer, and I always get a tremendous amount of referrals. The phone just is constantly ringing. And actually, I thought of maybe I should have turned my phone off before this started, in case if it starts to ring on a Saturday. But we are business to business, and we are quiet on the weekends. But I do get a lot of referrals constantly, and it's just by doing a good job.
All right. Well, do you do trades and you offer bartering? I know we talked about that pre-production. I know I personally don't use a lot of it. I don't have time for it, but that doesn't mean it's not an efficient way to go out there and grow your business. Because again, we talk about the domino effect. You do trades, you do bartering, you have word of mouth, and and then as I reiterated, the domino effect.
That is true. And I belong to two different organizations that does indirect bartering. And to give people an idea of what indirect bartering is let's say, for example, there's a dry cleaner that wants to get a new channel letter sign up above their building. Well, I can't do a direct barter with them because there's no way that me wearing these type of shirts is going to be using $3,000 to $4,000 worth of dry cleaning anytime in the near future. So what happens is they belong to this network where there's this imaginary money held by an imaginary bank, so they can sell dry cleaning jobs to 100, 200 people that belong in the network, and they give them the 20, 30, $40 here and there. They've accumulated funds, and now with those funds they can hire me to go ahead and do that work for them. So that's what's called indirect bartering. And by the way, this is a fully legit business. You get 1099 for all of this, and you do give the house a 10% cut or whatever their percentage is, and there are small carrying fees. But what happens is you get business that you wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. The only reason they're using you is because you accept that barter money. So it is found business, and it is a great way. And right now I love the barter dollars that I have because I use them in restaurants. I bought e-bikes. I've done a whole bunch of different things with that barter money, and it's all from found money. And by the way, as a side note, those customers that you make on barter then also become referral people for you. So it's not only do you get them on barter, but then if they know of someone that needs some signage or something else, or I've also had a couple of two different clients I could think of that no longer accept barter, but yet they've continued to use me afterwards. So it's a win-win for me.
Well, I'll reiterate what I said earlier: domino effect. Jeff refers
Right.
referrals word of mouth. I mean, So all right, what I like to do on these particular shows is get to know the person I'm talking to. So with that said, let's obviously everybody knows that you love to do signs. You're passionate about it, and it's obviously reflective and not only with our conversation here, but also when we've been together as well. But now we're just going to just take a right turn here, okay, Jeff? All right. So, what do you want people to know about Jeff Hochman, the person?
Well, I could go on and on for hours, but I'll be brief in this regard. I'm married for 37 years. I lived in the same house for 31 years. I got two beautiful, fantastic kids. My wife is beautiful, fantastic as well. But I got two beautiful, fantastic children. My daughter's a boarded veterinarian. My son is a software engineer, and I couldn't be more proud of them. And I'm very happy and blessed that my parents at 92 and 90 are still alive, my brother and sister, and we have a nice family. And, a short story about Jeff Hochman. Grew up on Long Island, as you can tell by my accent. I grew up on Long Island. I was in the home building business. I was a systems analyst. I got an MBA in computer sciences. I was in the vending machine business, and now I'm in the sign business. And I put everything into what I do. I've learned a couple of great lessons in my life. Don't put your hand in someone else's pocket. If it's not yours, don't take it. Some very good business lessons, and I take them to this day. I prefer to do business on a handshake, even though it's burned me in the past. As long as I know the spirit of what I'm saying and agreeing to, I'll own up to that every single time. And I like giving people good advice and my advice. So what else you want to know about me, Scott?
Oh, I don't know. Don't worry. You know me. I'll think of something. You don't have to worry about me. I've been doing this a long time. What I do know is what you said is true. I ordered one sign with you. It didn't really come in the way it was planned. And I told you, know what, Jeff, I don't want you to have to eat it. I'll take it. We'll figure something out. Obviously, we did, and still got and you got the other one straight. So Jeff is true to who he really, really, really is. And I don't care. I mean, I got news for you. I'll always find ways to use whatever I can get my hands on, because that's just what it's all about. I mean, in life, things happen. But there's two ways to either handle it. One, get upset about it and blow a gasket, or two, just go out there and find a million to make it work. And I've always been one of those kind of things where, you know what, Jeff, okay, you go with the flow and whatever happens, happens. And I think that's one of the things I've learned and enjoyed about your high energy personality. That's why we become good colleagues, business associates. And I only bring people on here that I believe have integrity, that are the type of individuals. To come on our network, I have to be thoroughly convinced that somebody is worthy of being it. Not that we're bigger than anybody, but I want a high class individual that can not only tell their story, but doing it in a very reputable, credible way. And I can tell you, like I don't know if are you selective of some of the customers that you bring on if you sense that they could be more trouble than they're worth, or you pretty much take on anybody?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I have fired a few customers over the years, but you really have to be a hard personality for me to turn someone away. But we've had our share of some customers. Actually, this one lady the other day, she came in to buy her magnets, and she came in with a microscope, and she goes, "There's a dot there, and there's a dot there." It was like, we don't live in a dust-free environment, but what we did is we made her another pair of magnets with a smile on our face, because good news travels fast, bad news travels faster, and we like to make sure that our Google reviews remain high. So if it's an in-house product, whether the customer made a mistake or not, 99% of the time we redo it at no cost. And people say, "Why do you do that?" Especially if it was a customer mistake, because it's the right thing to do. It doesn't cost that much money to redo it again, and I'd rather have a happy customer and one that's going to refer me again and again, and someone that walks out the door that knows that they made a mistake but I made it right by them. They're a customer for life, and that's what I like to do.
Well, many, many years ago in the home improvement business, I once sold a bay window in Metro Detroit, and I thought it was pretty good. It was going to turn out really good. But the guy came into the store one time, and he brought a tape measure looking at the molding, this and that. I mean, it was just like, my dad happened to be in there, because he always handles all the things in the showroom. And, when my dad got the gut feeling, because sometimes, Jeff, in life, you have to follow your gut feeling on a lot of things. He said, "You know what, Mr. So-and-so, I'm going to go back and I'm going to cancel your deal." And the reason why he did is he didn't think it was going to be collectible, and he was concerned about the word of mouth ramifications in the back end. So you might as well get out of the problem before you go deeper into it. And, sometimes you have to make a gut decision every now and then of something that could be more trouble than it's worth. And I'm not singling anybody. I'm just talking about business philosophy 101. And every business is subjected to that sort of thing, and I think that that's what we've had to do in your business. I know you work hard to please yourself. You're easygoing to work with. You integrity, but sometimes certain individuals you're just impossible to please, and you must cut your losses before they mount.
It's funny you should say that, because sometimes the people that negotiate the hardest up front are the ones that are going to be the pickiest when it comes time when the job is completed. Because at that point, if they weren't happy with the deal that they got, then they're going to want it for cheaper after it's already done. So it's funny you should say that, because that has happened a number of times. So,
yeah, no, I've dealt with it a lot over the years. So, all right, well, I guess the toughest question I'm going to go ahead and hit you with, Jeff, and I know you've taken everyone so hard and handled it so eloquently. Okay, how can you be reached?
We could be reached at 954-741-5904, or you can look at our website at www.signaramasunrise.com.
Very good. All right, folks. As you know, today's Florida Tribune podcast presented by Signarama of Sunrise. And as if you don't know where Sunrise, Florida is, look up the Florida Panthers in the National Hockey League, our media distribution partner for us. And, of course, they're west of Fort Lauderdale as well. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'll reiterate today at noon, myself, Mark Mancini, Bruce Kessinger, welcome on Sports Talk Saturday, based out of Oakland, California, former Philadelphia Philly Warren Brewster to the show. That's going to be a great show as well. So we have a lot of things going on here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. And I want to also give everybody a reminder here at the top of the program, know what? We love to repeat. So with that said, okay, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We have a busy lineup, as I mentioned earlier. Again, shortly I'll be on live from Oakland, California. That show starts at noon Eastern time. We'll be on until 1 o'clock. You can find that on our website. And Monday night, Fire Up Michigan returns. We also have a Fire Up Florida for a lot of our sports fans as well. But that won't be on this week. But in fact, I do have a Fire Up Florida, I should point out, which is a great one that we did thanks to the Miami Marlins. And we talked about Tommy. I talked to Tommy Hutton. I have a great one-on-one interview with him as well. Also, if you subscribe to our South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, Don Mattingly had talked about Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani was in town a couple of weeks ago. Have a lot there as well. So on Monday night, okay, Fire Up Michigan, myself, George Eichhorn, Mark Mancini. We also have Underage Stitches Baseball Talk on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday we have the Sports Exchange. Well, Jeff Hochman, it's really been a pleasure having you on the South Florida Tribune podcast, and I certainly look forward to working with you, hopefully down the line with other projects. But the one thing I can always say, and a special shout out to Warren Drucker and Drew Picard, as well as many others in the Tuesday group, that without a group like that in the networking group, it's hard to meet the quality of people that I've run across. I'm not going to mention any more names because I don't have enough time to do it. I just wanted to talk about the two main people, mainly Warren and Drew at this particular time, and yourself, to go along with the many others that I've had the opportunity to come on. Again, my schedule's starting to get busy as we start to work on building relationships with Mancini Media, Sideline Sports, as well as another partner out in Dallas, Texas. So not only are we a local entity, but we're trying to do a lot of good things nationally. And that's why it's great to have someone like you on, where you work for a franchise where you do things nationally, but you also have an incredible local presence as well. So, Jeff, thank you very much for being our guest here this morning on the South Florida Tribune podcast. It's been a lot of fun getting to know Jeff Hochman. Today's sponsor is once again Signarama of Sunrise. So, any closing thoughts, Jeff?
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Just want to say that Jeff Hochman, Signarama Sunrise, wants to remind you that a business without a sign is a sign of no business. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'll take it for it's worth. And of course, Jeff Hochman, obviously, you look at our video and you'll have an opportunity to go out there and look him up. The guy does great work. I can tell you right now that I've experienced it firsthand myself. So meanwhile, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. And we hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And as I mentioned for the last time, okay, I will be on the air today via Mancini Media with Sports Talk Saturday with myself, Bruce Kessinger, Mark Mancini, and former Philadelphia Philly, Warren Brewster. So, and one other thing before I go, I do want to wish out a special happy birthday to my brother-in-law, Steve Ebling. Steve is a really good guy, and he's also helped get me involved with some broadcasting opportunities in the past. And Steve, happy birthday to you as well. And now everybody in the whole world knows about it, so including the family. So on that note, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. And Jeff, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning.